Children are supposed to have time to grow, time to make mistakes, time to discover who they are, time to become the adults they dreamed of becoming. But for some families, that future was taken away. A normal morning became their last, a walk home never ended. A missing person report became a homicide investigation, and a child's photograph became a memorial. Today, we're remembering 6 young lives lost to murder. These aren't stories about the killers, they're stories about the children who should still be here. Because behind every case number was a name, and behind every name was a child who was loved. In May 2021, 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey was reported missing in St. Johns County, Florida. Tristyn was a middle school student and cheerleader. To her family and friends, she was a young girl with energy, personality, and a future ahead of her. But on Mother's Day, May 9, everything changed. Tristyn had disappeared. A search began, and investigators soon focused on surveillance footage showing Tristyn with 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. Later that day, Tristyn's body was discovered in a wooded area. Fucci was arrested and charged as an adult. In 2023, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of sentence review after 25 years under Florida law. But no sentence could give Tristyn's family back what they had lost. She was 13. She should have been thinking about school, friends, growing up, and what her future might look like. Instead, her family had to plan a funeral. Tristyn became a name known across the country, but to those who loved her, she was never just a headline. She was their daughter, their friend, their little girl. 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo-Hughes lived in Solihull, England. At 6 years old, life should have been simple: school, friends, games, family, but Arthur's final months were marked by cruelty. In June 2020, Arthur suffered a fatal head injury. An investigation followed, and the evidence presented in court revealed that he had been subjected to sustained abuse. His stepmother, Emma Tristyn, was convicted of murder. His father, Thomas Hughes, was convicted of manslaughter. Both were also convicted of child cruelty. Tristyn received a life sentence with a minimum term of 29 years. Hughes received 21 years for manslaughter, but Arthur's story didn't end in that courtroom. His death triggered a wider examination of how concerns surrounding him had been handled by authorities. Because when a child dies after people have raised concerns, one question becomes impossible to ignore. Could something have been done sooner? Arthur was only 6. He never got to grow up. He never got to discover the person he might have become. But his name remains a reminder that protecting vulnerable children is everyone's responsibility. 13-year-old Kania Baker was from South Carolina. In January 2025, she was reported missing. Her disappearance ended in tragedy when her body was discovered after a fire at a vacant residence in Colombia. Investigators determined that Kania had suffered fatal injuries. 2 teenage girls, aged 15 and 16, were charged with murder in connection with her death. Kania had recently entered foster care in Colombia. She was 13 years old, an age when a child is still trying to understand the world around them. Her disappearance left people searching for answers. Her death left a family facing something no family should have to endure. The circumstances surrounding her death were horrifying, but Kania's life was more than those final moments. She had a personality, she had memories, she had people who knew her, and she had a future that was taken from her. When a child disappears, the hope is always that they'll be found alive. For Kania's loved ones, that hope became grief, and her name became another reminder of how vulnerable children can be. On January 21, 2025, 12-year-old Leah Ross was walking home from school in Birmingham, England. It should have been an ordinary journey. Instead, Leah was attacked in Trittyford Mill Park. Police found him seriously injured. He later died. The investigation led to a 15-year-old boy being charged with murder. The teenager later pleaded guilty. In February 2026, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 13 years. But Leo's story isn't really about 13 years, it's about 12. Leo was 12 years old. He should have had decades ahead of him. He should have walked home from school countless more times. He should have experienced teenage years, adulthood, friendships, achievements, and everything else life could have offered. Instead, his family was left with memories, and a community was left asking how something so devastating could happen to a child simply trying to get home. Leo's life was short, but it mattered, and his family will carry his memory for the rest of theirs. In April 2026, 14-year-old Eghosa Ogbebor was killed in Woolwich, London. Police were called to Lord Warwick Street on April 2 following reports of a shooting. Eghosa was found seriously injured. Despite emergency efforts, he died at the scene. The investigation resulted in several arrests. A 16-year-old boy was later charged with murder. Another teenager was also charged. Because the legal process is ongoing, allegations against anyone who has not been convicted must remain allegations. But the loss itself is undeniable. Eghosa was 14. He was somebody's son, somebody's friend, a teenager with a life still unfolding. For his family, there is no resetting the clock, no way to return to the day before the tragedy, no way to give him back the years he should have had. And while the investigation continues, one thing remains at the center of this story. A young life was lost. 15-year-old Kristen Galvan disappeared in Houston, Texas, in January 2020. For her mother, Robin Corey, the disappearance became a years-long search for answers. Then came a discovery. Human remains had been found beneath a bridge in Missouri City, Texas, shortly after Kristen disappeared. But for years, those remains remained unidentified. Kristen's family didn't know they had already lost her. Then, in 2025, advances in DNA testing finally identified the remains. They belonged to Kristen. The identification became public in 2026. After years of uncertainty, her family finally had an answer. But answers don't erase grief. Kristen was 15. Her family had spent years hoping she would somehow come home. Instead, they learned that she had been gone all along. Her case also highlights the importance of DNA technology in giving missing people their identities back. For years, she was an unidentified victim. Now there is a name. Kristen Galvan, a daughter, a teenager, a person who mattered. 6 children, 6 families, 6 futures that ended far too soon. Their stories are different, but their families share the same unbearable reality. They didn't lose a statistic. They lost a child. A bedroom that once had a child in it can become painfully quiet. A birthday can become a reminder. A photograph can become something you hold onto because it's all you have left. And life continues around the grief. People go to work, children go to school, the world keeps moving. But for a family that has lost a child, something has changed forever. These children should not be remembered only for how they died. Remember who they were.